Well, to cut the inlays for the squares in the corners, I've made this jig for my router. It's a little bit bigger than what I need to make for the inlays. I've put some double-sided tape on here, and I'm just going to place this on the frame. Apply some pressure and this will stick down. I've got a collar on my router, and this will just follow the template. And that's what I want to see. I'm just going to go ahead and do the other three corners, and I'll square these up with the chisel. This is the piece of maple I'm going to be cutting the inlay out of. I'm going to cut off 5/32 of an inch off this edge, move the fence over, cut off another 5/32, and so forth and so on. Now that I have these all cut at 5/32 of an inch, which is a little bit proud of what the depth of the grooves are in the frame, I need to cut these down to a 1/4 inch. I've already made a test cut. I love my fence. I got down to a perfect fit on all these, so I just need to start cutting the rest of this. I'm starting to put the inlay in now, and I've got a few pieces in already. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in here, and these are all miters that need to go on here, and of course they're all goofy, nothing easy, so I'm just going to mark it with the marking knife. I'm going to give a little bit of relief with the chisel. Once I have that in there, so chop down. And just like that. So that's what I need to do to the rest of the piece. It's going to take me a while, probably the better part of the day. So I'm going to turn the camera off and get to work here. Well, after all the inlay has been put in, I just need to flush it to the field of the frame itself. I'm just going to use a hand plane to do that. Got set for a very light pass. This is just going to take a few minutes to do. I just need to go across. After I've got the bulk of this flattened out, I just want to go over and just take some very light shavings just to even anything out that still needs to be evened out. Well, I've got the inlay all flush to the field of the frame. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do some sanding. There's still some little slight inconsistencies. I didn't want to get too close with the hand plane, but it's pretty good right now. And I'll probably just go up to about 180 grit on this. Well, this is the last piece of molding for the frame that's going to go on the inside of the frame over the mat. There's 3 separate cuts that have to be made: a round over, a cove box, and then another round over, and then cut it to width. I'm going to be using this piece as a setup block to set up the router so I can duplicate this cut again. The first part of this is going to be a round over, and I'm going to be using a 3/4 inch round over bit set up in the router table. I've got it set up to a certain height and the fence set away a certain distance. And again, I just need to make this first round over right here. The next part of the profile is to cut this, which is using a 1/2 inch core box bit, again set up in my router table. Before I do the third and final round over on this piece on the router table, I do need to cut these to 7/8 of an inch wide. Now, the last piece of milling I need to do on this piece is to create a round over with a little lip right here. I'll be using an 1/8 inch round over bit in the router table. All right, I was wrong. There's still one more thing I need to do to this. I need to cut a rabbet in this, and that's to hold the glass, the picture, the framing, the backing, all that. I need to make it a 1/4 inch wide by a 1/2 inch deep. And I've got a 1/2 inch bit set up on my router table, and I'm going to do this in 2 passes. Well, I've cut the cherry strips that are going to go into the borders of this. But before I put these in, I want to darken this walnut. Walnut has a tendency to get lighter over time. And I've got some water-based dye here, which is very dark. I've also wetted this stuff down previously, pre-raised the grain, and sanded it down. So this will just make sure that this stays nice and dark over time. And I'll let this sit once I get it stained. I'm going to start putting the molding on the inside of the frame itself. And after putting this up there, I planned on having a little bit of a reveal between this and the top of the field. However, it's just a little bit too drastic. There's too much there. So I've got an 1/8 inch strip here I'm going to put underneath it. And now I've got a much more pleasing reveal right there. It does come over the top of the field, but you know, after looking at it and talking to my wife who this is for, she likes it. So we're going to go with that. So what I need to do first is miter a corner here, measure, miter a corner there, glue it, and pin nail it in. This is the first piece I cut, and I intentionally left it a little bit long. What I want to do, it's not much, maybe a 32nd or a 64th of an inch. I want to go over to my shooting board and true that up. Well, after a couple passes with the shooting board, I think it took 3 or 4, I'm just going to put this piece in here, and that's a nice fit. So I'm going to go ahead and glue it and then put some pin nails in it. One piece in, it's a good starting point. Now I just need to go all the way around. Now that these are dry, I'm ready to put the pieces of cherry that are going to go in this groove right here. And it's going to be pretty simple. I'm just going to lay down some glue. Doesn't need a lot. There's a pretty good friction fit on there. Just going to press that in. I've got a small piece of plywood, smaller than that. I just need to do the other 3. Well, I've given this cherry inlays a little time to dry, and I'm going to start putting those on. These are going to go on the outside, and then this is going to go in there, and I just need to go around the whole piece and do this. Well, the frame is basically done as far as construction phase. Now on to the finishing. I have gone and wet this down again, pre-raised the grain, knocked it back. I'm going to be putting a colorant on the cherry. This is potassium dichromate. It's very nasty stuff. I do have plenty of ventilation in the shop. I am going to be wearing a respirator when I put it on. I've made some test samples already, and I like the way that it's going to darken up on it, so I'm just going to go ahead and put this on. I've got the piece covered with the potassium dichromate. I'm going to let this dry for about a half hour, 45 minutes, and it should have a nice aged look to it when I'm done. Well, I've given that some time to dry, and now I'm just going to put on a very light coat of boiled linseed oil, cut about 50% with mineral spirits. Here's a piece with 1 coat of boiled linseed oil on it. I'm going to let this dry for about a week, and I'm going to follow up with 2, maybe 3 coats of shellac. Well, I've given the piece a week to dry. I lightly sanded it with 400 grit sandpaper. And I'll put the first coat of a 1.5 pound cut of shellac. And I'll probably put 2 coats on it, maybe 3. Well, here's the finished picture frame. I have yet to get the piece of glass to put in here, so I haven't put the picture and the mat in there yet, but I will shortly, hopefully. I ended up putting 2 coats of shellac on it, a coat of wax, and then the color is just very, very nice on it. My wife is very happy about it, more important than anything else. And it's going to go very nice in our living room. So I had a lot of fun making this project, and I hope that you try to do something like this yourself sometime. Thanks a lot for watching.